This has been brewing for quite some time. And it's just kind of a comment on a common annoyance. Now, for years, I was in a 12-step program, approximately 25 or 30 years, give or take what somebody thinks my continued participation was. Now, key to that particular paradigm is something called spirituality, which I, I find amusing. Because what is it? What is spirituality? And I would ask people that. They'd say, well, it's about God. I said, well, what God? Well, God. No, I don't know what you mean by God. Is it a Christian God? Is it just God of all things that you know? Is it, what is it? I get a lot of vague answers. Most of them, what they meant was a Christian God, but they really didn't want to believe in it or practice the paradigm, which is a pretty strict paradigm, actually, and it's not easy to practice. Okay, so that was involved in some kind of religiosity, the spirituality was. Then we had people that were what I would call the outskirts of the fringe, and what they believed in it was just kind of like this indwelling thing that gave you a sense of right and wrong and how to do things based in concepts like love, unconditional love. So that was another form of it. Okay, well, I don't have any of that. When I look at the definitions of spirit, the one that strikes me has something to do with the will to thrive and grow. That's what spirit is to me. So spirituality would be the practice of that, would be practicing the will to thrive and grow. Nice idea, some people used to say to me. But then when they found out that I was practicing certain paradigms or in belief systems which they thought were evil or that would bring evil to me and others, well, it just got it was annoying. So they would retreat back to their comfortable belief system of spirituality and do whatever. Anyway, I don't think that the term is useful. I know there's people out there creating what they consider to be spiritual paradigms. You could call it whatever you want. People call it. You can call it that. I'm not going to dispute and tell you what you believe is wrong or what is flawed in your belief. I just think the whole thing is flawed, but I think you also have, the right to go ahead and do it anyway. I mean, I don't care. I'm not doing it, and it's not something that's going to help me do anything in most cases. Now, sometimes I run into certain elements of a paradigm that might be useful in something that I'm creating. And so that's what it is. Now, I have to look at what I call as realities. Now, one of my realities is a mundane reality. This is the day-to-day reality of useful falsehoods that I believe in. One of those is I'm an atheist, which means I don't believe in any of this God stuff or God's stuff or any of that stuff, or that there's a power greater than myself or any of that kind of shit. There's a lot of things greater than me. I mean, a bulldozer with a maniac behind it is greater than me, unless I have a weapon that I can neutralize him with before he gets to me. So that all becomes a big debatable deal. And I'm not into that. I don't really care about that. You all could do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to attempt to take it away from you. It's yours. You go ahead and do it. Just don't enforce your beliefs or attempt to enforce your beliefs upon me. I'm probably not going to buy. I might listen for a while and, take what I want and leave the rest, or I might just walk away because I know it's not something that's going to benefit me or other people I know. So we have a useful, mundane reality, and in that reality, I'm an atheist. There's no God, there's none of that, okay? So that's it. Okay, that's my mundane reality. That's my day-to-day reality when I deal with the outside world. Okay, now besides that, we have a supernatural or a magical, what I call a magical reality. And that's a whole set of paradigms. It's a meta-paradigm in which I may adopt elements of paradigms, or create my own paradigm out of elements of other paradigms, or just kind of originate them out of thin air. Some of these guys are calling this emergent magic. Okay, call it whatever you want to, label it however you want. I've been doing this shit for years. I've been doing this shit since the early 90s. Okay, and it just doesn't make me better or worse than anyone. It just happened to me that way. So maybe that fits some of those definitions. And these things just came from all kinds of information that I was putting in my head and just like spewing out. Okay, so in that was involved a lot of enchantment, some invocation, some evocation, and then later this devolved into primarily a evocation enchantment paradigm spiced with what we call illumination. In other words, finding out inner realms within myself of psychologic import that might create a part of magical paradigms. Magic might come from it. Okay, and so the magic used to obtain things. It's used to find out things, knowledge about myself and others and situations and possible futures, possible past, possible present, time measurement in those senses. That's what that's about. That's the magical reality. And it's a huge set of realities. In other words, it's a huge meta-paradigm. Okay, so those are the two predominant realities. And then we have another synthesis of both of those, where there's a mundane reality that's mixed with portions of a magical reality, or a magical reality that's mixed with portions of a mundane reality. In other words, they could shift as to the proportions. And that's more of a synthesized series of events that evolve out of the quest for situations, or just out of a eureka moment. And those happen as well. So that's kind of the outlay of where we're going. There's just any number of paradigms that go into the meta-paradigm, even in mundane reality. In mundane reality, we have science, we have literature, we have art. We have all those forms, which can also give us a mundane reality that's creative and special and doesn't need any outside influences. In other words, there's no need because of mundane reality for spirituality in that reality.